evening, everybody. My name is Joe Morin. I'm a professor of marine science here at the Stony Brook, Southampton campus, and I'd like to welcome you all for coming out here on a Friday evening for one of our public lecture series. This will be the last lecture of the 2016 calendar year. This spring, in either February or March, and then every other month into June, or every month into June, we'll have another series of talks. So look forward to seeing you then. I'm very excited to introduce our speaker tonight. He is our Marine Station manager. He is an internet superstar who goes by Fish Guy Photos, and he's a really great guy who helps me fillet my flounder on the rare occasions when I catch them.
It was this big.
I thought it was big. Chris Paparo is a graduate of Southampton College, so he's been here for many years. He worked at the Long Island Aquarium for several years and a variety of other jobs doing marine science education and sort of field nature guidance. He is definitely, I'd say, the most knowledgeable person on our staff about the local flora and fauna in our marine ecosystem. He leads many of the seal and bird tours that our marine station does, and he's an amazing photographer, videographer. And he's going to talk to you about the marine wildlife that you see and some you may not often see here in Long Island. So let's listen to Chris.
Thank you, Joe. All right, so thank you. This is a fairly new talk for me. I've only given it a couple times, and for those who've seen my underwater talks and everything, this talk was an excuse for me to use everything that didn't fit my underwater theme. So some of this stuff I took while on a boat, some of this stuff was on a GoPro, but pretty much all of it, with the exception of one or two pictures, are my work. So from plankton to whales, why our waters are worth protecting. So often when you flip on the news, or you turn on Facebook or any of your social media sites, we get bombarded with doom and gloom. The world, according to social media and news, is coming to an end. There's giant fish kills, which, all right, they have just recently happened. We'll talk about that a little later. You know, you get the algae blooms, rust tides, you know, dead turtles, diamondback terrapins, and just point out the long-term damage, the sound is polluted, you know, and I think hearing this day in and day out, people lose interest in trying to do anything good, because it's like, all right, everything's doomed, everything's dying, everything's polluted. Why should I worry about not making my grass green, or why should I worry about not pouring chemicals down my toilet? You know, it's screwed. The environment is screwed. Why bother trying anymore? So I hope tonight when you leave here, you'll realize that there is a lot of really cool stuff in our own backyard that's worth fighting for, worth making a difference. So what starts all this wildlife? Why is it all here? Well, it's all here because of plankton. No, not SpongeBob, the guy that owns the chum bucket, but plankton in the first aspect of it will be phytoplankton. So this is not one of my pictures. This is from one of our postdocs, Teresa, who let me use these pictures. But phytoplankton are microscopic plants. They use sunlight and inorganic compounds to create food for plankton, other types of plankton, such as zooplankton. So plankton jumps back in there again, and the reason I put him back is because Nickelodeon did do a pretty good job of drawing plankton, because he looks like a copepod, which are these little microscopic organisms. So these little crustacean-like bugs, they look like little bugs with a little antenna, flip around, switch around, eating phytoplankton. They are the first step of the food chain, passing that energy created by the phytoplankton to the higher food chain. So as you go along here tonight, you're going to see a food web as we go, and you'll realize that everything was connected to that phytoplankton. So plankton, by definition, is something that's at the mercy of the current. You know, a lot of them are small and microscopic, but as we'll see, there are some that are larger. And not all plankton stays plankton. So a lot of organisms start out their life as plankton, such as this porcelain crab larvae. Again, microscopic, you can barely see this in a little bucket of water. It's thinner than a strand of hair, but this will turn into a little tiny crab. This here is a parchment worm crab. It's a crab that lives with this benthic worm, and when it develops, will look like this. This was a pretty cool organism we got in the plankton tow. This is a mantis shrimp. When this develops and settles, it looks like that. Our local mantis shrimp has these very powerful front claws that they slice their prey with. So there's two types of mantis shrimp. There's the crushers and the slicers. Our local ones get the nickname knuckle splitters from our local baymen, because when you're dragging for scallops and you're digging through your scallops, you find one of these, if you're not careful, it punches you in the knuckles and splits your knuckles open. So, but they are very common in our bays, but most people never see them. Also other stuff in the plankton, some more crabs. This little larvae gets a little bit bigger. It's a little bit more recognizable now. Just turns into a lady crab. Better known as a sand crab, calico crab. We catch them when we go fishing. Fish also fall into plankton. So this little guy I caught last winter, and again, this was big enough to see with the naked eye, but when you start looking at it, like, oh, the fins kind of look similar. This is a very common fish that we catch, northern puffer. So there's one that's about the size of a marble and fully grown. That puffer gets even bigger. Puffer, blowfish, they go by a couple different names. Other types of fish. This one we collected, I collected a few years ago. This is a larval tang. This is one of our tropical fish that drift up here in the summer months. When this develops, it looks like that. I'll talk a little bit more about tropical fish later on. But just to give you an idea, so fish are in this plankton soup, eating those copepods that we're eating, the phytoplankton. Now, remember I said plankton by definition is stuff that's at the mercy of the current. It just drifts. So some of that could be a lot larger. So a lot of our jelly-like organisms are plankton. So this is a clapper bell hydromedusa, small little jellyfish about the size of a marble. Then we have our comb jelly, also known as a ctenophore. These aren't jellyfish. You can actually pick one up. They're not going to sting you. They're not going to hurt you. But this is a voracious predator. You don't think of this little jelly animal being a voracious predator, but if you're a copepod, watch out. They feed on copepods, and they catch them with almost like little sticky fingers. They don't have stinging cells like a jellyfish. That's why you could pick one up. What's really neat about them is they phosphoresce, so you can see some of the green, but they also bioluminesce. So if you go out at night when there's an abundance of these, especially if you're on your boat and you look at the wake, you'll see these lighting green and orange colors lighting up from these ctenophores as you bump into them. Moon jellies. Fully grown moon jellyfish gets about the size of a dinner plate. They are jellyfish. They have stinging cells, but the stinging cells in these jellyfish are so small that it won't penetrate the skin of your hand. So you can pick them up, they're not going to hurt you. Unlike our next jellyfish, the lion's mane jellyfish. These will hurt you. Fully grown, they can get 8 foot wide and 100 feet long. This is the jellyfish that stings you when you go to the beach. You're swimming in the surf and you get this nasty rash and you're like, I didn't see any jellyfish. It was their tentacles. Even their tentacles, if they break off, are still capable of stinging you. So if I took this jellyfish, put them in a blender, and threw it in the water, and you swam through it, you're going to get stung. So that's the culprit typically behind jellyfish. Now, what other organisms eat plankton? Because again, all these jellyfish are feeding on those copepods, but now there's some larger stuff that eat them, such as this little monster. Pretty voracious, scary looking, but it's this big. This is a skeleton shrimp. But you can see these giant claws. This is almost like a movie, a monster from some sort of movie. They walk with these legs through seaweed, catching copepods and other larval fish, crab, shrimp that they can catch from the plankton soup. What else eats plankton? Mole crabs. So this little crustacean lives in the surf zone, and as the waves crash and wash up the beach, they stick up their antenna, almost like a barnacle. They catch the plankton, and when the wave goes down, they bury back in the sand. And as the tide comes up and down, they migrate up and down the beach, just catching the plankton. As a kid, we used to dig these up all the time, call them sand fleas. They go by a bunch of different names, but mole crab is the official name. But now, so we're starting to get bigger. Now, as you can see, this is something that you can physically hold in your hand that's eating plankton. But it doesn't stop there, because bigger fish eat plankton, such as the silverside. If you go fishing, you might know them as spearing or shiners, depending on what you're fishing for. They call them different nicknames depending on their size. Mullet is another fish that feeds on the plankton, also feeds on algae and some detritus as well. And then we start seeing some bigger fish. This here is an alewife. Now, it might look sick or injured because it doesn't look like it's in much water. But alewives spend their entire life out in, not their entire life, but they spend the winter in the ocean. Come spring, they migrate to fresh water, they swim up streams. This is a giant school, it's not working, giant school of alewife at the base of a dam. This is happening in downtown Riverhead, right across from the county center. People walk by every day, not caring what's going on. And this is the second thing I hope you take away from today. Slow down in life. There's so much cool stuff happening right in front of you, but we often get tunnel vision and we go to our job, or we go to school, we go to our classes. Even on campus, there's a lot of really cool stuff. I know some of the students got to see it last year, but we had a grade 1 owl nest on campus. You know, Kurt saw it. And mom and dad were watching this chick, and students were walking by all day and never noticed it. They were sitting right there in a cedar tree right here on campus. So with this, again, downtown Riverhead, you don't think that there's something cool and exciting happening, but it is. And these fish, unfortunately, at this particular location, can't get up the dam. You know, they need to get upstream, and we've built, over the years, have built dams for several reasons, flooding, bogs, or power. So these fish are unfortunately stuck. There are a few DC people that have helped move these fish upstream, so that's why they keep coming back. Good news is, though, a lot of these dams are scheduled to be removed, especially in the Riverhead area. This one is scheduled for next year or the year after. They already replaced a few up the Peconic River, so again, replacing these dams, these fish can get up there, fueling the rest of the ecosystem that lives upstream. So what else eats plankton? Probably the most important forage fish on the east coast of the U.S., the Atlantic menhaden, also known as the bunker. This fish has been in the news lately. If you were at the Shinnecock Canal 2 or 3 weeks ago, you know all about this fish because about 2 to 4 million of them died in the Shinnecock Canal. Of natural causes, they were chased in by giant bluefish and striped bass. They packed in so tight, they used up all the oxygen, suffocated, and died. I went back the next day to monitor the situation. After the locks opened, all the dead ones moved out into the bay. And while I was standing there, I got video of one, but on many occasions I saw giant striped bass rip through the schools grabbing bunker because there were live ones in there the next day. I went the following day, and there were live squid swimming around through the canal. So, you know, what looked like a bad situation for those fish it was, but for everything else it was good. There's a lot of things eating it. Go out to the bay right now, and you'll notice there's a lot of gulls, a lot of seagulls, more so than there usually are this time of year. They're gorging themselves on these dead bunker. In doing so, they're getting fat. In a month or two, it's going to get colder here. Food might not be available. A lot of your young of the year animals perish their first year. There's high mortality in young animals. So if they can gorge themselves now while it's still fairly warm and put on a lot of fat, in a month or two when it gets cold and there might not be food for a week or two, they might survive that 2 weeks because of the bunker they ate this fall. So what looks like a bad situation is beneficial to others. But bunker, as I mentioned, one of the most important forage fish on the East Coast. And up until about 5 or 6 years ago, we didn't care about them. They're bait. We use them as a fish meal. We grind them up. They're not important. So we never monitored or protected them. But again, 5 or 6 years ago, a light bulb went on and said, hey, we need to protect these fish because they feed everything above them. So in doing so, all of a sudden, bunker have shown up in giant numbers. This is a very large sport fishing vessel. These are bunker schools. So I was up in a Cessna flying over the South Shore of Long Island, and when I tell you from Fire Island Inlet all the way to Montauk were these giant schools of bunker. They were everywhere. And with these bunker bring in a lot of, like I said, a lot of fish, birds, and my highlight of this past year, which I will end with tonight, I got to witness because of these fish, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But so what else eats plankton? Now that's what I meant to mention too. Is they're planktonivores. See how they all have their mouths open? They swim with their mouths open and filter out plankton from the water. So they don't eat big fish or large animals. They eat microscopic phytoplankton and zooplankton they filter out with their gills. So again, really important in our ecosystem and food chain. But what else eats plankton? Now, some of the stuff that eats plankton, again, bunker, they're not edible. And for those that know me, I eat everything. You can't eat bunker, so don't try it. But something else that eats plankton that's very tasty. The Peconic bay scallop, or just the bay scallop in general. So this filter-feeding bivalve filters plankton from the water. We then harvest the scallop, and we eat the scallop. Now, we all know this is what scallop is. We know the shell, we know that delicious morsel of seafood deliciousness that's now about $40 a pound, because there's so few of them this season. But most of us didn't realize this is a live scallop. They have 18 pairs of bright blue eyes they can see quite well with. When approached by a predator, they close their shell. If they feel really threatened, they'll clap their shell and swim away. If you follow me on any of my social media accounts, go back a week or two and I put up a video of a whelk, speeding whelk, a snail, trying to attack a scallop. And when the whelk got close, the scallop clapped its shell and swam away. So that's one of its defensive mechanisms. But what else eats scallops? What other than us? Well, a lot of things like scallops. Blue crabs like scallops. Blue crab here was probably eating a nice mussel meal or scallop meal when I approached it and it tried to rip my face off. Pretty aggressive predator, but these crabs eat mussels, scallops, clams, and even other blue crabs. They're voracious predators. They're not afraid to eat anything. And I mentioned mussels. Yes, they like to eat mussels. Mussels are another filter feeder, filtering plankton from the water. And there is a bunch of things that eat mussels. Other than the blue crab, we have rock crabs that eat mussels. Now, mussels create a habitat. And there's things, like I said, the crabs that eat the mussels. And then things come in to eat those crabs. So the oyster toadfish. This is an animal that lives in rocky areas, mussel beds, oyster reefs, and feeds on crabs, clams, mussels. They have very powerful jaws lined with blunt teeth, so they can just crush their prey. You don't want to put your finger in its mouth. You ain't getting your finger back easily. Won't bite it off, but it's going to hurt. They're also very vocal. At certain times of the year when it's spawning, you can hear them barking and grunting and making noise. Even if you're standing on a dock on a quiet night, you can hear it. So what else eats crabs and lives around mussel beds? Probably a fish that everyone here, or I'd say a majority of people here, caught and probably hate. The sea robin. Everyone hates the sea robin. You go fishing for fluke, you want to catch a nice fluke meal or dinner, and you catch sea robins, and you catch sea robins. Well, first, they're delicious.
That photo is hanging in my room.
Awesome, I like to hear that. Cool, where'd you get it? You got it? All right, well, from a fundraiser, or you bought it?
Word of mouth.
Oh, okay, the fishing show, awesome. I will be there again this year. Okay, so, all right, cool, hope we'll see you there. Yeah, so sea robins, everyone hates them because they steal your bait, but they're delicious. They make an amazing taco. If anyone's interested, I'll give recipes after the talk. But they're just an extremely interesting fish that, again, most of us, because when you get one, it's got this hard bony head full of spines. It's got these big wing-like fins. That's why they call them a sea robin. They got these ugly little things dangling under them. And to top that off, they bark. So when you're trying to take one off the hook, they make all sorts of noise. So everyone hates them. But after seeing this, hopefully you'll think they're really cool. So those ugly little things that hang down are modified feelers. Fins that are modified into feelers. They're an actual predator. They're hunting. So this sea robin is hunting for its food. Watch here. Don't miss it, because if you blink, you'll miss it, right? There. And watch again, because it's still hungry, and it grabs another one. What it just did was grab two baby winter flounder that were hiding in the sand. It scooped them out and grabbed them. I was amazed that this sea robin let me watch it. Now again, I'm not going in 50 feet of water. This is 4 feet of water in Shinnecock Bay. Anybody here that can put on a mask and snorkel can watch and witness this. That's the other thing to take away from tonight. I just do a lot of this. I spend a lot of time out there. We can all see this. But after a while, it gets tired. Just like the rest of us, when you eat a meal, you want to take a nap. Buries in the sand. So often while diving, I'm looking for stuff. And the other thing, remember I said slow down? So when you're diving, most of the time I go with people, they swim really fast. They're looking for sharks, they're looking for turtles, they're looking for big stuff. They'll swim right over this because that just looks like a seashell. So I slow down and I'm looking. And I'll admit, I miss this often. And I get over it, and it jumps out of the sand, and it scares the crap out of me. I scream like a little girl. Nobody can hear me underwater, so it's okay. And it swims off. But if I just slow down and look for this little mark, you'll see it. So what else we have that lives around those mussel beds and eats those animals? Well, blackfish. Blackfish is a popular game fish, especially this time of year. It's more of a cold water species. It's one of our local wrasses. It gets about 30 inches, big rubbery lips with teeth that look very much like ours. You pull their lips back, their teeth look like ours. They crush crabs with ease. If they eat a mussel that's small enough to swallow, they'll swallow it whole. They got teeth in that throat that just just crush it up as it goes down. Shell and all. And the shell gets pooped out, and now you have new beach sand. Not that. What else eats crabs? Well, black sea bass. They don't have teeth, and that's what's even more amazing. So when we catch these, often their stomach contents will have rock crabs, hermit crabs, and one of the things I think is amazing, this past fall, I'm catching a bunch of them, almost every one of them had a mantis shrimp in its stomach. How they swallow a mantis shrimp while it's slicing and doing all this, I'll never know. But mantis shrimp are fed upon by a lot of these animals as well, these fish as well. Porgies eat a lot of that same stuff, crabs, mussels. They have flat teeth that they crush and pulverize their prey with. But then we have animals, remember, mussel beds create habitat. So you get a lot of these animals come in and feed, and as things come in, bigger and bigger stuff comes by. So summer flounder love hunting around mussel beds. They're a predator, large mouth full of sharp teeth. They'll eat all the fish I just mentioned if they're small enough to fit in their mouth. They'll also eat all the crabs, mantis shrimp, anything else they can fit in that mouth, they will eat. An extremely popular game fish in our waters. This is probably one of the most important game fish, especially in the summer months. We get a couple different species of flounder, though. This is the most common. Winter flounder used to be very common. This is the fish that's responsible for my addiction to fish. This was the first fish I ever caught when I was at the young age of 6, right here in the Shinnecock Canal. And I was hooked ever since. But the winter flounder, small eyes, rubbery little mouth, no teeth. They eat small, soft-bodied animals, worms, shrimp, and clams that crabs have opened and maybe they haven't finished. They'll go and pick the shell clean and finish it up. The third species that's common to many anglers, the window pane flounder, also commonly locally called the sundial. The reason they call it the window pane is if you were to pick one up and hold it to the light, it's so thin you can just about see through it. You can see its spine, its stomach, all of its innards. They're edible, but there's just so little meat on them, so most people don't keep them. But those are the three flounder that everyone thinks about on Long Island. Summer flounder, winter flounder, sundial, or window pane, whatever you want to call them. But we also have smallmouth flounder. Now you notice it's got a small mouth, but it's a left-eyed flounder. So actually, let's back up. So the winter flounder, here's its gill, here's its stomach. It's looking to the right when you keep its stomach closest to me. When I turn this one that way, here's its gill, here's its stomach, it's looking to the left. So at a quick glance, you might just think this is a winter flounder because it's got a tiny little mouth, but it's a left-eyed flounder, it's a different one. We also get the eyed flounder and the four-spot flounder. And this one I usually catch when we're offshore in deeper water, but from a quick glance it looks like a fluke, summer flounder, but it doesn't get much bigger than about 18 inches, and it's got these 4 spots that really make it distinguishing. Then we get this flatfish, that flounder you've probably never caught. This is a hog choker. It's a type of sole. They're very common in our waters, but in all the years I've been fishing, I've never caught one hook and line, and the reason being is, look at that ugly bug. They got this tiny, tiny little mouth. They're feeding on very, very small shrimp and plankton and things like that, that they're not going to take a worm that's on your hook. They got a very tiny mouth. So that's why you would never see them. The reason they call them hog chokers is farmers used to try to feed them to their hogs. And guess what? The hog couldn't eat them and they would choke on them. Their skin is super thick and they just can't process it. So that's how they got the name hog choker. But again, it's such an ugly, weird fish, especially when you get up close in its face. Speaking of ugly and weird fish, this is probably one of the coolest local ugly fish we got. This is the northern stargazer. Again, very common in our waters. A lot of fishermen catch them in the summer months, call me up, and then the first thing they say, we got this weird fish, we were drifting the inlet, fishing for fluke, and I felt like I had the bottom, and then finally the bottom came up, and I caught this fish. Really strange, its mouth's on the top of its head, all these little fang-like teeth-looking things. But the craziest thing is when I touched it, I got hurt. They got shocked. Northern stargazers can emit electrical current. They have glands behind their eyes that they're able to shock and stun their prey. So often the greenhorn or the newbie on the boat or the captain will tell him to go pick it up. You know, not enough to kill you, but enough to make you jump. Kind of like putting your tongue on a 9-volt battery. You know, I don't recommend that. What's that?
But you've tried it.
Yeah, of course, of course. You know, and I've also been told that they're delicious. I know a few chef friends of mine have prepared them. I just haven't caught one in an opportunity to try it. But they can eat anything they can fit in their mouth. When I worked at the aquarium, we had a specimen that was about this big, and it would eat herring that was that big, whole. It would grab it, swallow it, extend its stomach to be able to pull it in. When they're feeding, though, they're completely buried. These eyes are the only things that stick up. So they're kind of looking up. That's why they call them stargazers, because they look straight up. But it's a strange fish, and probably the strangest fish in our waters, and always gets everyone really excited, is this one, the seahorse. So I run into a couple groups of people. Some people don't even think seahorses exist because it's one of those mythical creatures, you know. But they do exist. And then most people don't, well, they exist. They're probably in some exotic place like Australia, New Zealand, someplace great. No, they're very common in our waters. This is the line seahorse. They like cold water. It's not a tropical fish. So in the summertime when you find one, you're not doing it a favor by taking it home. It would survive just fine on its own. This is a female. It's got a rounded belly here. Here's a male and a female. Here's a female. Here's the male with a big fat belly. It's not a fat belly because he likes to eat a lot of food. It's a fat belly because it's pregnant. Seahorses, in the group of animals known as cygnathids, the males give birth. Female gives him eggs. He keeps them in his pouch. He fertilizes them internally. About 2 weeks later, he gives birth to about up to 1,500 babies that look just like him. This is actually the offspring from that seahorse. I put them in a bucket, and there he is in the background. I put them in a bucket just to tend to the net. I turned around, and there were 1,000 babies swimming around in the bucket. So that would also be plankton. That would drift around for a short period of time before they settle down on the bottom. Unlike the other type of plankton, they look like the adult. You know, they don't go through a whole development stage over time. A relative of theirs that's very common around here, goes by a bunch of different names, the pipefish. I've heard pencil fish, rope fish, depending on who catches them, what you call them. But it's a relative to the seahorse. It's pretty much a straightened seahorse, but just like the seahorse, the males give birth. So this is a pregnant one. And often, especially on our trips when we're out in the bay, midsummer we'll find them often pregnant. You pick them up and you hold the belly open, upside down. Sometimes they'll be bright orange, and sometimes they're silver. The bright orange ones are ones that just made it because the eggs are orange in color. 2 weeks later, before they hatch, the silver you see are the eyes of the young looking out. So each one of these little dots, if you look closely, you'll see a round dot with a dot in the middle of it. That's the eye of the pipefish. And they'll give birth to, again, about 1,000 offspring. They're much smaller, though. They look like little strands of hair floating around when they give birth. But again, strange fish. So we're in that strange fish mode right now, and I keep saying this because I said it already a few times. The strangest fish around here. Here's another one. And no, it's not a baby whale. Right, so you guys got it, because not everyone got that one. For those that didn't get the joke, when you go home, Google Jay, it's not a baby whale on YouTube. Two guys from Boston, and it's all with a Boston accent. I was going to dub in the sound as you remember. There's a lot of obscenities, so I wouldn't do it at work. Do it at home, maybe keep the volume down. But it's two guys that come across this odd-looking fish and had no idea what it was. They started with, it was a baby whale. It's sick. I think it's a flounder. We should kill it. It's a lot of money. It's hilarious. It's 5 minutes, and it's the best 5 minutes that you gotta watch it. But anyway, it's known as the ocean sunfish or the mola mola. It's just a big head with these two giant dorsal fins. You know, so it's a crazy fish. This is one I spotted last summer. We were about 10 miles off the beach, but I've seen them in the bay. Look at that ugly mug. But what's crazy about this giant fish, it only eats jellyfish. So it's a friend of ours. Yes, so they do that with their fins, and that's how they just swim. They call them sunfish because they spend a lot of time sunning at the surface. Often beaches get shut down because of this fish. They think it's a shark. Dorsal fin cutting through the water. Unfortunately, though, they often get hit by boats because they spend a lot of time at the surface. Some people classify them as plankton because they do a lot of drifting. I don't, because they can swim away from that boat like that, and they also will jump 4 feet out of the water. Plankton doesn't jump as far as I'm concerned. There might be some people here that disagree with me on that, but when I see plankton jumping 4 feet, I think they can swim on their own. So that's just my opinion on that one. So what other weird organisms do we have around here? Well, this one's not necessarily weird because I'm sure we all know it. What is it? Awesome, thank you. All right. I was going to yell at you guys if you said starfish. We always call it a starfish, but the marine science students that are here tonight, thank you. It's a sea star because it's not a fish. It's a type of animal known as an echinoderm. They have 5 eyes. They have an eye at the end of each leg. Primitive eye they can see light and dark with. The spot in the center always gets called an eye. It's not. It's a valve. It's where they pull water in and out of their body. Their underside is hundreds of little tube feet that they use to walk with. Each one has a suction cup, so the pulling water in and out of their body is a water vascular system. They feed on clams and mussels and other bivalves. How they feed? Well, they wrap around a clam and they pull. And they pull, and they pull, and they pull, and they pull until the clam gets tired. Once the clam gets tired, the sea star takes its stomach, passes it through its mouth, slides it into the shell of the clam, digests the clam, and when it's done, pulls its stomach back in and goes on to the next critter. So that's the equivalent of me on the way home eating a hamburger, putting my stomach on the seat next to me, eating the hamburger as I drive home. You can cut them in half, you'll have 2. Unfortunately, baymen back in the day, well, baymen still hate sea stars because they eat clams and mussels and things that we like. So back in the day, the law was kill it. All right, well, chop it in half, throw it back, I'll teach that. Yeah, you just double the population in a fairly quick time. If a leg breaks off, they'll grow a new leg. But that's our local sea star, the dwarf sea star. So there's a bunch of echinoderms in our water. Again, this is probably the most common of them. This one's very common, but most people will probably never see them. This is a brittle star, also known as a serpent star. Giving scale of size. I'm working on my hand modeling, if you've noticed. I've got some hand modeling jobs going. But what's neat about this is they can pick up those legs and walk like a little serpent or something. I'm doing it just with 2. I need more legs. If a fish bites one of those legs, it'll let go of the leg. The leg will wiggle, and it'll run away. It'll sacrifice its leg, and then a new leg will grow back out. So again, really cool. They're found this one's found right here in Shinnecock Bay, but you got to be digging around in the mud to find them. Another echinoderm we have is the sea urchin. So this is the purple sea urchin, which is our local sea urchin. You might have seen this in a rubber whale store in Southampton or Port Jeff. I know someplace. For those that don't know what the rubber whale store is, go to Port Jeff, and there's a store that sells rubber whales that say Port Jeff. They sell a lot of nautical tchotchkes. Thank you. I was looking for the word. That was the. So you'll see this, and that's its skeleton. It's known as a test. Each one of those dots are where the spines attach. Sea urchins feed on algae, so they'll scrape algae off the rock as they go. Another echinoderm that we might be regularly or common or aware of, but not aware that lives here, the sand dollar. Sand dollars offshore are extremely common. Our offshore trawls for our classes, that's probably the most abundant thing we get in the nets. Go down to the beach after a really bad, windy, stormy sea, and you'll find them thrown up on the beach. Typically, though, you see them, they're white. This is a live one. This is its skin is still there. The white that you see is its test, its skeleton. The skin is gone. It's now just another tchotchke, another dust collector. Another echinoderm that's around here that's a lot more exciting than all of these, and again, most people don't see them because they're very sensitive when you're in the water to see them, is the sea cucumber. So we have sea cucumbers. This is the hairy sea cucumber. They bury in the sediment, they put out their feeding tentacles, and they catch food from the water like this. So as they're catching it, they pull the arm in, it goes into their mouth, and they put the arm back out, and then they pull in another arm. Fully grown, they're about this big. But most of the time, and when they get spooked, they bury into the sand like that. Often people bring me in this thing like, I was clamming, I found this, and it's a soft, slimy thing with white lines coming out of it. It looks like a turd. It just looks like a big wet turd. And it's a sea cucumber. When the white things come out when they feel stressed, they'll send out these little streamers, or I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's to deter a predator. So with those crazy arms swirling around, it kind of looks like an octopus, right? Well, it wasn't, but we do have octopus in our water also. So this was an octopus that we collected here at Stony Brook the first year I started. We had a high school group out doing a bay exploration in the snow. In November, it was snowing. They were miserable. They weren't happy. We weren't catching any fish, just a lot of seaweed. But I'm a geek, and I want to dig through the seaweed. And At the bottom of the pile was this little tiny octopus. You could get in the scale of size, that's a centimeter. This is a little tiny one. It's really neat when they're young to get these false eye spots to try to trick predators. It grew quite large, so our local octopus can get about 10 pounds, 10, 12 pounds. They get fairly large. They're very common, but they're very cryptic. So you're not catching one on a hook and line, so most fishermen aren't going to catch them. If you got a crab trap, they can squeeze through, because an octopus can squeeze through a hole the size of width of their eyes. So an octopus this big can go through a hole the size of a golf ball. So they'll just get out. And again, they're just very secretive. And they feed on crabs, and this is how they do it. They wrap around, they grab the crab, and then they retreat quickly on their tippy toes back to their den. So if you're scuba diving and you see a hole and a pile of crab shells in front of that hole, that's an octopus den. They're not very good well, they're good housekeepers. They keep their house clean. They just throw it out on their front lawn. So even if you're in the tropics, you'll see these crevices with a pile of crab shells in front of the hole. That's the sign that an octopus lives in there. So I mentioned tropics, and I mentioned earlier about tropical fish. And since I was a young kid, that was one of my, and still to this day is one of my hobbies, is collecting tropical fish. So we get a lot of really cool stuff that drifts here on the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream is a current of water, comes up the east coast of the U.S., with it bringing warm water, but also carrying with it larvae, plankton, tropical plankton. When it gets to our south shore around end of end of June, July 4th weekend, the water here is warm enough for them to survive, so they settle and they start living. And they'll stay here all summer. A majority of them, though, die when the winter comes. The water gets too cold. And because they drifted here, they don't know how to turn around and go back, so they'll perish. But a lot of them drift here on sargassum. Now, sargassum is a type of seaweed that lives out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and it's driven in here. But if you look, there's more than just seaweed here. There's a fish. There's his eye. Here's his legs, or I call them legs, but they're fins. And his tail is all the way back here. This fish is about that big. It's a frogfish. It's known as a sargassum fish. This is a tropical species. This one I collected off the Shinnecock, about 20 miles offshore. This one is another anglerfish or frogfish known as the striated frogfish. This one I collected in Tiana Bay. In Shinnecock Bay. I've actually gotten 4 of them in Tiana Bay. When this one came on board, this was the first one I've ever seen. I almost threw a high school kid overboard to get it because I was so excited. Like, what is this fish? Oh my God, get away! So it was the first one I'd ever seen, and since then we've gotten 4. But they call them anglerfish because they have an angle, a lure. They're anglers, they're fishermen. This is the same fish, by the way. They change their color to match their surroundings. And again, you can see the lure. So all these anglerfish have different lures. The sargassum fish, its lure looks like a little tiny cotton ball that it just wiggles. The striated frogfish, it looks like a worm. It's actually split, and it does this through the water. And they fish, so they sit in one spot and they fish. Now this is a video, this isn't a picture, so you can see him breathing. Look how slowly he's breathing. He's just kind of hanging out, but he sees something. But he's not going to chase it because he's slow, so he starts fishing. Oh, what's that? Oh, oh, yeah. We'll play that again. So, again, he saw a fish in the distance and wiggled it, and when he wiggled it, that fish that was in there with him thought that was food and said, oh, let me check that out, and in a blink of an eye, it was over. Boom. Now your anglerfish, and he's going to move here for a second, so he's going to, because when you eat talk about indigestion, he's got to wiggle around a little bit to fit this down. Yeah, so he's burping it down. He's kicking out some of the gravel that he ate also by mistake. But what's cool is look at his fins. They're modified into like feet. So he was holding on to the rock. Now watch here when I center the camera. He wiggles. And it's not him wiggling. It's actually his food right about here. A little off on my timing. There it is. Talk about indigestion. That fish is waiting. He's going to go off and do his thing. So these type of fish, though, because they're sitting and waiting for something to come to them, they have to be able to eat whatever comes their way. So they can eat a very large prey item. And again, they swallow it whole.
Do they ever lose their lure?
I'm sure, but I don't know. I don't think it would. I don't know this for sure, but I don't know if it would grow back. Because what it actually is the modified dorsal fin. So often when fish lose a dorsal fin or something, that doesn't always grow back efficiently. But as quickly as it happened, I wonder how often the bait fish actually wins. You know. But again, that's a really cool fish that's around here. If you go to the tropics, there's some species that get this big. They'll be orange and yellow, and they'll be sitting on bright yellow sponges, and you'll swim right by them because you're looking for sharks or looking for something else. So again, you always slow down. So what are the tropical fish, and how common are these? Because everyone always says, "Well, you're out there so much, you must see it, because you're out there." I'll never see them. Well, this was one dive 2 summers ago at Ponquag Bridge in Hampton Bays. These are spot fin butterfly. There's about 15 or 18 of them in this picture. They're very abundant. This is probably the most common of the tropical fish that we get in our waters. We got 4 different species of butterfly: spot fin, four-eye, banded, and reef butterfly. Some other fish, short big eye. These look like a ruby when you find them. So I don't do much collecting anymore because I don't work at the aquarium, so I don't have a lot of tank space here. But 2 summers ago, I was diving and I came across a short big eye. And I was excited because I have my camera, so I got a bunch of pictures. And I'm like, you know what? We need a mascot at the lab, so I'm going to bring him back to the lab. I didn't have a net, but I wedged my camera on the ground, and I cornered a fish. And I got him. I got him in my hand. And I happened to keep a Ziploc bag in my pocket for those type of occasions, and I stuffed him in the Ziploc bag. And I was pretty excited because I didn't think I was going to catch him. So I took a selfie to prove it. I think it was more funny watching me take the selfie to make sure, oh, no, it's not good enough. I blinked. So I took the selfie, we brought that fish back, and we had him at the center. Other tropical fish, so we get band-tailed puffers. Now, remember I showed you the northern puffer earlier, the blowfish? They're delicious. Chicken of the sea, they're dynamite. But the problem is almost all puffers are toxic. So if you don't know which puffer you're eating, don't eat them, because these are also common around here. And by a quick glance, and they do get bigger around here. Quick glance, like, oh, it's a blowfish, I'm going to bring it home. Yeah, you're probably going to be going to the hospital, or if you're lucky, after you eat it. But these puffers and blowfish blow up when they feel threatened. Here's the band-tailed puffer. We also get the striped burrfish. When they feel threatened, they puff up also. Fully grown, though, this fish, when it puffs up, can get the size of a basketball. When I was younger and inexperienced, I tried netting one with an aquarium net while I was diving. I got him in the net, he puffed up, and he got all twisted and tangled in the net. It took me an hour just to get him out of the net from the little spines. Cowfish. These are really neat, and there was probably 5 summers ago, I was sitting on the rocks at Shinnecock East on the incoming tide with a dip net and a bucket, and I dipped about 30 or 40 of these little buggers. They were this big. I'm just sitting there, you'd see them drift by, and I scoop them up, and people come, what are you doing? And they look in the bucket like, holy cow. I didn't realize there was a whole bunch of them just slowly drifting by. And I go by years, because every year it's different. So because they're drifting here, there's a lot of variables, currents, winds. This was was the worst year for tropical fish collecting on Long Island. I've been collecting tropical fish here for over 30 years now. Why, everyone always asks, you know? The reason I put it is this summer the winds predominantly were out of the southwest. All that does is throw dirty Jersey water on our coast. Southeast winds throw in the Gulf Stream. They bring in out that nice clean ocean water, and with it all the larvae, the plankton that drift in on it. So like I said, this year was just southwest wind every day. Did anyone notice there were no jellyfish this summer? That's why. Southwest wind. Those jellyfish live out in the ocean. You have that southeast wind that brings all those tropical fish, brings the jellyfish. Southwest, coastal water. So there was no jellyfish this year. The winds changed, though, later in the season. Too late for the tropicals, but in October there were giant lion's manes all over the beaches out here. But too cold for the tropical fish. So this is a slender filefish. We also get orange filefish. The look down. You can tell the look down by the slope here, not to mistake with the moonfish, which also, but doesn't have a flat slope, it has this concave slope. Paper thin. These fish are so thin that when they're swimming in the blue open water, when they turn and look at you, they disappear. That's their camouflage. The blue angel. This is one of 3 angel species we get around here. I've collected blue angel as the most common. I've gotten French, and I've even gotten 1 gray angel up here. We also get tropical inverts. This is a shamefaced crab. Looking at its claws, it looks like it's got a deformed claw, but this is actually kind of like a lobster. They got 2 different types of claws because they like to eat snails. That's a can opener for a snail. You flip the snail open, they can just cut them right open and get the meat out with this claw.
What is that again?
A shamefaced crab. Kind of looks like a rock crab at a quick glance, so often a lot of times people don't even notice it. And we get some really, really big tropical fish around here, such as this rough-tailed stingray. This was our research vessel. We had 30 second graders on the boat when we caught this. They were thrilled. Those kids have been on the boat 2 summers since, and every time they come on the boat, like, are we going to catch another stingray? I'm like, I'm not promising nothing. Took all we could to get this ray. Just to give you a size of scale, the ram is 5 feet wide. This ray was 5 feet wide and 10 feet long. It's a rough-tailed stingray. The spine on it was the size of a steak knife. 4 feet of water in Shinnecock Bay, west of the bridge. What other tropical critters? Well, we get sea turtles. So we got the green sea turtle. We get the Kemp's Ridley, which is the most endangered of the sea turtles. We also get loggerhead sea turtles. This is one sleeping out. We were 32 miles offshore when I took this. They were sleeping everywhere on the surface. And we went to one. We saw one as I was taking pictures. I was motoring the boat and just taking pictures. Again, 32 miles offshore. Look how calm it was. It was a lake out there. It was so calm that the flies were biting us if we stopped. We had to keep the boat moving. But anyway, we approached this one turtle, and he was swimming like a top. Head down, so we figured he got hit by a boat or wrapped in line or something. So we're like, all right. I gave my buddy the helm. I said, take me over. Let's see if we can help him. We'll get him on board and whatever. As we approach, he dove down, and then I noticed there were 2 giant fish swimming underneath him. Those are cobia. Those are 4-foot-long cobia, which is a big game fish. And we tried to catch them and help this turtle. We were trying, because what we realized was the reason he was spinning, you can see here, he's looking. He didn't know what was going on. He was freaked out by these cobia. So what he was doing, he was swimming and watching them as he was swimming around. But they were smart enough, they didn't want to take our bait, so they stayed with this turtle. The other turtle we get around here is the leatherback sea turtle. It's the largest of the sea turtles and gets 1,200 pounds. It's the size of a Volkswagen. Unfortunately, this is the only picture I had at this time. I have a better picture of one. Darren was there. He saw it, of a live one. But this one was hit by a boat. You can see the prop marks on its head. These turtles also eat jellyfish, so it's a friend of ours. We like them. And again, it's a crazy big animal, and you don't have to go far to see them. The last one I saw, we were less than half a mile outside of Shinnecock, England. So we're out in the ocean now. What's in the ocean? I've left something out. And we're going to get there. That's at the end. Sharks! Right? So when you're in the ocean, what do you got to worry about? You got to worry about sharks because they're vicious, crazy predators that are going to eat you when you're swimming out there. This is the Maconic Bay. This mako is mean and hungry. So one of the projects I'm involved with also is I'm part of the Long Island Shark Collaboration with several groups here on the East End. This past summer we were actually out with O-Search tagging white sharks. But it got started by tagging makos. And this is a mako less than 5 miles off of Shinnecock. This is about a 4-footer. This is not a real big one. The biggest mako we've ever caught and tagged was an 11.5-footer. And we were so close to Shinnecock Inlet, we can smell the hamburgers from Oakland's. And that, like I said, was an 11-foot shark. So this is one that, after I got to play with the camera for a little while, we eventually caught and tagged. And some of our tags, we use circle hooks to minimize damage on their jaw, but we started tagging them with little spaghetti tags that we get from NOAA. And really all we know anything about this is that the shark's recaptured. Well, this particular shark, we tagged about 5 miles. We like fishing about 5 miles. It's close. It doesn't burn a lot of fuel. And the sharks are there. But we caught this shark, tagged it with a tag, and let it go. A year and 7 months later, we got a letter. Wow, jeez, that was bad New York right there. Sorry. We got a letter. Long day. We got a letter from NOAA stating that, hey, congratulations, your shark was recaptured off the coast of Africa, 2,200 miles away. So in a year and 7 months, it got over the other side. Unfortunately, we don't know where it went that year and 7 months. We just have the 2 capture points. It might have done that multiple times. We'll never know. But what we do know is that the sharks here in New York use the ocean. That's their home. So when you think about regulating species or fish, sometimes you can't just say New York. You got to have everybody involved. We can protect sharks in the U.S. This one was killed by a longliner off Africa. You know, so unless everybody in the world is on board, sometimes these fish don't stand a chance. So we got them. We also got blue sharks. This is another one that was tagged and released. And as I mentioned, we were involved with O-Search this summer. We were half a mile off of Montauk, and we caught and tagged 9 white shark pups in a matter of 2 weeks. Yep, so the great white. And what's exciting is you can go on osearch.com and track these sharks, and the ones that we've tracked, some of them right now are down off Virginia, swimming around and pinging away. But the tags we put on these sharks are called a spot tag. They go in the dorsal fin. They record, they have a computer and a transmitter. When the fin breaks the surface, it sends a signal to a satellite that emails the researcher to his phone. They go, oh, there's my shark. He's, you know. So we get real-time data on these fish, which is really exciting. Now, why are they here? Well, these little guys are here because of the bunker. They're eating bunker, they're eating bait fish, they're eating sea robin, skates, flounders, a lot of benthic stuff. Their parents swim through here and go north. They go up to Cape Cod because they eat seals. Oh, cute little seal. But to a white shark, tastes delicious. So this is a gray seal pup. This is a female. You tell it's a female because it's got a white coat with dark spots. This is a male. They have a dark coat with light spots. Gray seals are really unique from other seals, and you can point them out pretty easily because their snout, their head looks like a horse, very long. Harbor seals and other species looks like a little tiny dog. But when they're first born, they got a full white coat. It's known as a Nugo coat, and they shed that. This was Dune Road, just west of Conquag Bridge up in the marsh. I usually drive Dune Road every morning before work, and that's where a lot of my pictures come from. But again, I pulled up to my car, and he was sitting right there. I didn't have to go on a exotic hike through the marsh or anything. He was just right there. Harbor seals are our most common. Fully grown, they get about 200 pounds. The gray seals can reach 800, just to give you a comparison. This is Montauk, but this is right here in Shinnecock Bay. This is the East Sandbar, the East Cut. We do winter bird and seal cruises here with organizations, school groups, and such. Last year, one day, we had 130 seals sitting on that sandbar. You can see these seals at Montauk, Orient, Shinnecock, Mauritius, Fire Island, pretty much all the inlets or points you'll see seals. Port Jeff Harbor, Stony Brook Harbor. We also get harp seals. This is a yearling harp seal. As an adult, they have a V shape on their back and a dark V shape and a whiter belly and a black face. I get about 400 pounds. We also get a lot of cetaceans in our waters. These are dolphins. These are bottlenose dolphins. I refer to them as dumb dolphins. Everyone was like, what do you mean dumb dolphins? Because they don't like us. They just swim around, they blow, they go down, they swim, they come up. There's a calf. They're not very playful. The fun dolphins are the common dolphins. These are more of an offshore species. But when I say fun, when they see the boat, they rocket right towards you, jumping out of the water, lunging out of the water to try and get near you, because what they do is they bow ride. And also by jumping like this, they're saving energy. There's less resistance. When they jump through the air, they gain speed without having to swim through the water. When they bow ride, the same thing. They ride the wake of the boat. This was to our 5-mile fishing spot outside of Shinnecock Inlet. One morning we were greeted by a pod of these dolphins. That was a baby that's right here. So again, not far from the beach. These bottlenose dolphin, all summer, you could go to Tiana Beach, Palmquag Beach, sit on the beach in the morning, on a calm morning, and see dolphin regularly. They were right there almost every day. You could spot them. This was in front of Rich's Inlet. So We also get larger cetaceans. So we actually get the second largest whale in our waters, the finback. This was 32 miles offshore. This was the same day with the turtle that I was showing with the cobia. Look how flat it is out there. This was an amazing day. I have a 21-foot boat, so we were pretty far offshore, but the weather was amazing. This is a female and its baby. And notice, even that far offshore, we're in the tanker lane, the boating lane out there. This particular whale was hit by a boat. That's prop marks. Fortunately for it, it survived, unlike the leatherback sea turtle and unlike this humpback. This washed up at Triton Beach a couple years ago, and it was hit by a boat. We're starting to see a lot more whales in our waters. Why? Because of the bunker. So I mentioned earlier that the most exciting experience I had this summer had to do with bunker, and that's because the whales were here to eat the bunker. This was right outside of Shinnecock Inlet. I think we're 2 or 3 miles. You can see the shoreline in the background. These are bunker that are trying to get away from this whale. You'd see the giant school of bunker swimming along, and all of a sudden it would get really nervous, and the whale would lunge right through it with its giant mouth open, scooping up hundreds of, probably thousands of pounds of fish in one gulp, going back in the water, doing it again, and again, and again. This one particular whale, I watched do this 7 or 8 times. And then it was like, all right, we gotta go. It was getting late. I was already really late for where I needed to be. But again, you don't have to go far because this is my, no, not my last one, but this is the last one. But this is why one of the most exciting things that had happened this summer was this. For those that are familiar with the area, that's the Ponquag Bridge in the background. This is less than a half a mile off the beach. If you were sitting on the beach that day, you would have seen this whale not only swimming but lunge feeding. It was jumping clear out of the water right in front of the beach. Unfortunately, it was a gray, cloudy day. Nobody was on the beach. Probably everyone missed it except for me and my 2 friends who were just ecstatic. We didn't even pick up the fishing rods that day, and we watched this whale and we went home. We couldn't top it at that point. So with that, though, we're coming to an end, and as much as we started with all the doom and gloom, and it seems like there's a lot of bad stuff out there, I hope you take away from tonight is there's a lot of really cool stuff in our own backyard that is worth protecting, worth doing something about, and you'll care a little bit about it. So again, if you like what you saw tonight, you can follow me. Here's my cheap plug. Fish Guy Photos, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Vimeo now. I'm on, but you can find me in those places. But thank you.
If anybody has questions for Chris, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer
Sure.
a couple here.
Yes.
What was the bunker-eating whale? What was the species?
Humpback.
Oh, really?
Yes. So humpbacks will eat them. I do not believe fin whales eat bunker. I know minkies do. Do you?
I haven't
I don't.
heard of it.
I think fin whales, the larger ones, eat much smaller bait fish, sand eels primarily. But around here, the humpbacks and minkies will eat bunker. But again, those bunker are fed upon by gulls, osprey. We saw a pair of eagles in Shinnecock Bay on the last seal cruise eating bunker on a sandbar. You know, so up to the giant whale, striped bass, bluefish. It's a key player in our waters. Yes.
So you said that you'll eat just about anything?
Yep.
So which thing you eat?
Wow.
Bay scallops.
Well, I eat the whole, right, so I go with these guys scalloping, and the tradition is you get out of the water and you eat one. So I'm like, all right, cool, I'm all about this, and they shuck it, I'm watching them, they're throwing the guts away, and they're eating the meat. I shuck the whole thing, and guts and all. You eat the guts on a clam, you eat the guts on a scallop. I gotta come up with a better name, but I made scallop gut casserole. And I brought it in, a couple of students got to eat it at the station, they loved it. I gotta come up with a better name, but I just took the guts and made like a big clam with it. It was dynamite. What else would be weird? Any of those fish that I mentioned, I've tried them all. Crabs, green crabs, rock crab, blue crabs.
Spider crabs?
I've eaten spider crabs. So you gotta remember, as a marine biologist, especially as a student, because that's what I did as a student, you guys can relate, the seagulls as we call the students. gotta be opportunistic. You're not making a lot of money, you're working crazy hours, so when someone gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Well, when someone gives you some spider crabs, you try it. It was a lot of work, and even as a starving marine biologist, I don't recommend it. Let them stay. You know? But I have tried them. It's a lot of work, but it's not worth it. Not worth it at all. I've had sea urchins. Yeah, people eat them. It's weird though, because you're eating a roe. You're eating eggs. You're not eating like meat. Yeah.
Question, the ocean star that you photographed flew down in Costa Rica years ago, and the starfish, ocean star, sea star, were
They come in some crazy colors. Crazy colors. So I mean, there's some of the tropical species, right? Like you said, oranges and reds, and they all have different stuff they feed on. You know, so some of them feed on corals. Some of them feed on sponges. Some of them feed on detritus. Some feed on bivalves. Some, you know, so they have different things, and a lot of those bright colors help them camouflage, advertise that they're toxic, so that things won't eat them. But yeah, some of them are wild. Some of the really tropical ones can be amazing. Around here, offshore, there's some really cool, colorful ones. Not multiple colors, but like pinks and flat with like trim, like a yellowish trim to them. They're really pretty, but they're far offshore, 500-600 feet of water. Yeah. Any question? Yes.
The horseshoe crab.
Yes.
I didn't see any pictures. Do you think the population is
Yes.
heading?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Why do you think that is?
There's a lot of things I left out because that was an hour. I go on forever. But with the horseshoe crab, two things. One, habitat destruction. You know, they nest in salt marshes, and we are good at developing salt marshes. Two, they're harvested for bait. So if you eat scungili or eat eels or use eels for bait, all of those animals were caught by using horseshoe crabs. And New Jersey's got a moratorium on them. And to be honest with you, I bet you within 5 years, New York follows suit.
Well, do you think the swans, the white swans, are eating the horseshoe crab eggs?
No, but the swans have a bigger problem. So swans eat some submerged aquatic vegetation. So when they're in a saltwater environment, they eat eelgrass. Now, 70% of our eelgrass beds have already been wiped out due to the brown tide. Now you have this invasive swan that swims around and eats eelgrass. But swans must have learned how to eat from us because they're extremely wasteful. They only eat a percentage of what they pull up. So they'll pull up, eat some, then move on and pull up and pull on and eat stuff. So that's why DC's really trying to work out a management plan for the swans. But they're coming up against a lot of resistance because they're pretty. Yeah. And they're aggressive towards not only people, but other wildlife. So we have some that live in the pond by the marine station. They chase out ducks and geese all day long, native species that are supposed to be nesting in there. But again, they're cute and pretty, so people don't want to manage them. So that's become a problem. But also, with the eelgrass, though, by ripping up the eelgrass and destroying habitat. So the scallops need eelgrass to survive. You don't have eelgrass, you don't have scallops. We already have issues with our eelgrass, and now we have this other invasive animal that, unlike the brown tide, we could probably manage a lot quicker than fixing the brown tide. But again, they're cute and pretty. Other questions? Yes?
Long Beach, so we saw the whales out by a.
Oh yeah, you can sit on the beach in Long Beach and watch them. I highly recommend if you're ever looking to do some whale watching, well, there's Montauk, but they go out and look at a lot of fin whales and some of the ocean species. But Princess Cruise in Brooklyn, at Breezy Point in Brooklyn there, the backdrop is New York City. I've got friends that have gone on the boat, whales breaching, and there's the Freedom Tower in the background. Just amazing.
I saw a picture of a whale coming into New York.
In the harbor, yeah.
Right, and are they chasing other whales?
Yeah. No, you know, and whales, you know, at one time were very abundant here. We hunted them almost to extinction. They've been protected. They've never seen coming back. But when the food comes back, they come back. You can protect the environment, but if the food's not there, great. You know, it's a big picture and stuff.
Beautiful, it's beautiful state.
Yeah. Yes.
Because the bunker is so important, and I was going to, what is your opinion on the technology DC's request and last year for gathering up
Harvesting them
water
before the dead.
Yeah.
Before that.
Do
It's the
you
town's
ever
Band-Aid.
comment on those things?
What's that?
Do you ever comment on and advise them?
I personally know, but our research faculty would.
So just for the record, there were a ton more bunker in Peconic Bay in the river this year than last year. So, but you only get a kill when you have bunker in last year's an algae bloom and, you know, the low oxygen levels. So just because there's a ton of bunker doesn't mean you're going to have a kill. And so my personal opinion that's based on data we've collected is them harvesting 400,000 fish or whatever had nothing to do with there being a lack of bunker kill, because we had literally 5 to 10 times as many bunker this year as last year.
And you correct me, we talked about this, that even the kill was a very small percentage of the actual population. You know, so from us, it looks like a giant, massive death. But what was the...
Sorry, 4 or 5%. Brandon, my grad student, is the resident bunker population guy.
No, the recent kill was, we're talking the Riverhead kills. So the recent kill was, they got chased in, and like I said, I have proof of bluefish and bass hammering them in that canal. The Riverhead kill, though, the last summer happened was like, there was a lot of fish, warm summer, a harmful algal bloom. You know, algae is a plant, gives off oxygen.
Well, it was just an algae bloom. I don't think we know if it was
Okay.
a harmful algae bloom, but it was definitely an algae bloom that then died. Oxygen levels crashed by the 105 bridge, and at the same time you had the bunker there, so you end up with a bunch of dead bunker.
So is the recent kill in Shinnecock, would that be considered a large kill, or?
It was a lot of fish, but most likely that was actually a slug of ocean fish that are migrating along the coast that actually came in, which is sort of a different, there's a lot more bunker offshore than there are within our waters, even though there's a lot of bunker in our local waters.
And even that kill is a small percentage of the big picture.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's, again, it looks like, when you think about them being such a key species, there has to be lots of them. You know, you can't just have, you know, the higher you go on the food chain, the fewer and fewer animals you have. So it's like with the sharks. They have a lot of problem with sharks because, one, they take 15 to 20 years to reach maturity. When they do reach maturity, some species only give birth to 2. Like the sand tiger shark only gives birth to 2 sharks every other year. Do you ever know how many eggs a bunker, like when they spawn?
A lot.
Millions. I mean, you know, so you have that, you know, a little bit of difference. So the higher in the food chain, there are fewer of them. The bottom is more because that's what's feeding everything above it. You know, so that's why you also see